Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us here this afternoon with our Simple Balanced Life session of mental health. We're so grateful that you've taken the time to join us. We have a special guest for us tonight, but before I get into that, I'm going to open us up with a word of prayer, and then I will do a scripture, and then I'm going to turn this over to Pastor Gooley, and that he would take us further into our presentation or session on tonight. Gracious Father, we thank you for allowing us to be here in your presence on tonight. We ask tonight, God, that you would just take the lead in this session. Oh, God, anoint the presenter on tonight. Allow her to speak clearly and succinctly, dear God, with those who are listening. Tonight, dear God, we pray that you would take the reins and that you would take the lead. Teach us the importance tonight, dear God, of having an advocate for us. We thank you tonight, dear Heavenly Father, and we praise you for this mental health session, that souls will walk away and that their minds will have mental clarity, and that we will be blessed by hearing what you have for us tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. A scripture that I want to read tonight, a very brief scripture, since we are going to be talking tonight about advocacy. I want to read for us tonight Romans 8, starting at the 31st verse. And it says, "What shall we say then to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? He that spared not his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? Who shall lay anything to the charge of God's elect? It is God that justifieth. Who is he that condemneth? It is Christ that died, yea, rather, that is risen again, who is even at the right hand of God, who also maketh intercession for us." Thank God for the reading of this word tonight from 31 through 34. And I thought it appropriate because it's talking about interceding. And that's what an advocate does, intercedes on the behalf of others, as Christ has and continues to intercede on our behalf on tonight. So I'm going to get out of the way and allow Pastor G to come and present our facilitator on tonight of this mental health session. And I pray that you will, as she presents tonight, that you will, gather questions if you have questions that she can address. And if you would put in the chat tonight just any questions you might have, I will be tallying those, and then we will come back at the end of the presentation, and then she will filter any questions that you might have. At this time, Pastor G, in your hands.
Thank you very much, and we thank God. Okay, we thank God for you on tonight. And again, we met this young lady in April, as I've said recently, at Bright Point Community College at a conference for Chesterfield County Suicide Prevention Coalition. And when she began to tell her story, this young lady made us laugh. She made us cry. She made us go into deep thought. She made us almost called me kick up my cowboy boots heel. I mean, her story is so powerful, but yet she's so resilient. And I knew then I had to have her on the program. Anybody know me? If you act like you want to do something, I'm going to chase you down. But I didn't have to chase her. And I thank God for that. So she's going to talk about the importance of advocacy, as Pastor Jay had mentioned, and the peer work that she does. I hope you will listen attentively of what she has gone through personally and family to get to where she is today. So I present to you Stephanie Lomax, and she will give more information, her vocation, and so forth and so on. So if you have questions, put it out there in the chat, and we'll be able to get them to her. So without further ado, Stephanie, is all yours.
All right. Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. The work that I do is definitely more of a passion than it is a job or a career. Let me share my screen with the audience so you can follow along with me. Just bear with me one second. All right, there we go. Then I'm going to move this up here like that. All right, here we go. So again, my name is Stephanie Lomax, and I am the lead peer at Chesterfield CSB Mental Health Support Services. And I'll get into more about what I do on a daily basis over there at Chesapeake. But I want to tell you a little bit about my story. Let's see. All right. I look at this picture and I smile each and every time. That is my youngest daughter, Jordan. Jordan survived a suicide attempt at the age of 14.
So
I'll
we're
never forget the day. I was uh, I was on my way to work, and at the time, I was working for Children's Hospital of the King's Daughter,
Excuse me,
CHKD.
Stephanie. Can you hear me? We can't
Yes.
see that picture of Jordan.
Uh
We
huh.
don't see it.
were you sure?
Were you sharing the
How?
picture?
Yeah, I see it on mine. Like I clicked. It says I'm sharing. Let me try again.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's try it again. Share. Did you see anything?
No, because I'm looking here and I'm
No.
looking here, and I don't see it.
Okay. Technical. You gotta love it. From the
Oh no, it's
beginning.
not. Okay.
All right. So
But
it's
if
saying
not, we can. Yeah.
entire screen, share. I might have to put it on the screen that I'm on.
Okay.
Let's just
Okay.
let's just try that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be what
Yeah.
it is.
Let's do some switching around real quick. So you don't see that picture?
No, I don't see anything but us three.
Okay. Bear with me 2
No problem.
seconds. I'm going to move some things around. I'm working with 3 screens here.
Wow.
All right. Let's see if do you
No.
No, not yet.
then I'm not sure.
Okay. Don't worry about it. We can just if you still work on it while you're
Let
talking.
me let me see if I go out. Let me see.
Hmm. All right, let's do this. Let's put this. How about now? Can you see anything other than me?
No.
Okay. Then I am not sure.
Yeah. We can just go ahead on, and if it comes up, that'd be good.
Okay. Now I can't get out of it. uh, cancel. Okay, can you see me now?
I can see you.
Okay.
You, yes.
Then I'll just talk. um and
Right.
use my slides as a guide. Hold on 1 second. So Jordan, she's my youngest daughter. She was 14 and she survived a suicide attempt. And like I was saying before, I was working at CHKD, which is a level 1 trauma center. Level 1 trauma center, I was the unit secretary. And in that position, you see a lot. A lot of families come in with trauma. Um, and a lot of my responsibility was to provide resources to the family, make sure that they were safe and that they understood what was happening, that was going on with their child when they were in the emergency room. So I had a lot of knowledge of things. So I'm walking into work and my phone is just ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. And I look down and it's my oldest daughter. And I was like, oh, she got out of school early today. She just want to know what's in the refrigerator. I will call her back. And but she just kept calling and kept calling. And as a parent, that gut feeling, it's like something's wrong, something's happening. And so I answered the phone and she's crying. And I said, Bree, what happened? What happened? What's going on? And she said, Mom, please come home. You got to come home right now. I said, what is going on? And she said, Jordan tried to kill herself. Just like that. And um, I don't know how I got home. I'm pretty sure it was some type of NASCAR situation but I got there and I opened the door, and there was my two daughters on the floor crying and holding each other. And I got down on the floor with them and I was holding them, and I looked at Jordan and I said, Joe, what's going on? What's wrong, baby? And she said, Mom, I just don't want to be here anymore. There's nothing in this life for me. And as a mom, what do you say to your child in that moment? What can I say to her? This is how she's feeling. And remember what I told you that I did. Like, I worked in the emergency room, I had resources, but at that moment, everything went out of the window. I didn't know what to do. Um, so I did remember that Jordan had a English teacher that really kind of took took favor to Jordan. She realized that Jordan was struggling, and so she was very communicative with me about Jordan in school. Um, Jordan was diagnosed ADHD as a small child, and so she had some things going on. I was going through a divorce, so I knew that that probably was something that was bothering her. But to this level of not wanting to be on this earth anymore, I couldn't comprehend that. Um, and 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 so I looked around and I saw, that my oldest daughter was able to get the pills from her. Jordan had a plan. She wrote out a suicide letter. She skipped school that day. She knew exactly what she was doing and what she wanted, and that's when it really made it serious for me. I was like, this is really happening. And but what she didn't count on was that her sister got out of school early that day, and so grace of God, Brie opened the door right at the right moment and was able to push her down and get to her. And they stayed on that floor until I got home. So fast forward, I did remember that at one of our IEP meetings for Jordan, it was a 504 meeting, the English teacher gave me a magnet, and it had a mental health crisis number on it. And I called the number, a number that I've called 1,000 times for other families, but in my moment, I didn't know. And I had the most nicest, patient, and understanding voice that greeted me on the other end. And she said, Miss Lomax, just take a deep breath and breathe. We're going to get through this together. I told her what was going on. She put me on hold. She said, give me a minute. And then I realized that she was looking up resources for me. And so then she comes back and she said, okay, I found a bed for Jordan. It's in a residential center, but you have to go now. So we got there, took Jordan. Again, don't know how I got there. Total blur. And we walked in. Nobody greeted us. They just said, go to this room, have a seat. It was a small room, no windows, posters on the wall, but I really don't know what was being said or what it was saying. Lady came in, she did the assessment, she talked to me, she came back, she said, okay, we'll keep her. We'll call you in the morning. They took Jordan in the back, and I just stood there for a minute, and I said, okay, I guess I go home. And I went and I sat in my car. I cried for 3 hours. Nobody came. Nobody came out to check on me. Nobody said, here's a pamphlet, here's a support group, here's something for you, Mom. Here's something for you because you just went through this crisis. And not only do I have to sit here and get myself together, I have to go home and be with my oldest daughter who found her. And there were no resources for me. There was nothing for me. I just had to go home. I had to get it together and go home. So I'll fast forward a little bit. Jordan was in residential for a while. Um, and a lot of times, it was a lot of miscommunication. I would call up there and say, "How's Jordan doing? Can I visit her? What's her discharge plan?" And a lot of the information was, "Oh, I thought the psychiatrist was going to call you, or I thought the social work was going to call you." And I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. She's going to be discharged home to me, and I need to know what's going on." And what do you mean there's nobody, nobody was really communicating with me. Now, Jordan got the help that she absolutely needed. She got the coping skills that she needed. They did a wonderful, wonderful job with her. And I must say that in this residential center, it wasn't that they were excluding me on purpose. It just wasn't their policy. It just wasn't the way that they did. Nothing was in place to double check, triple check that there were resources. There was somebody assigned to the family. Nothing was in place. And I felt like that was a problem. That was a problem. And I said, well, if this is happening to me, then there are other families in this residential center where this is happening too. And that's not okay. And so I started asking questions. I started making emails. And I was pretty instrumental in helping this residential center change the way that they do things. Now they assign somebody to the family. I believe now that they're hiring peer work. But that was the advocacy part of my job as a parent, to advocate for me, my family, and for my daughter to make sure that we got the resources that we needed. So in doing all of that, I found the love of peer work. I got a part-time job working for UMFS, and I became a family support partner. Later, I became certified as a family support partner. And I did exactly what I was doing with my own child. I supported families that were in a crisis situation. I advocated for them, and I taught them how to advocate for themselves in situations just like mine. So let's talk about what peer support is and who does peer work. So I'll read to you the actual definition of peer recovery specialist. It's a person by education and experience that's professionally qualified to provide collaborative services to assist individuals in achieving sustained recovery from the effects of mental health challenges, substance use disorder, or both. And then a family support partner, which I started out being, is a parent of a minor or adult child with mental health or substance use disorder, or co-occurring mental health and substance use disorder, or an adult with personal experience with a family member with mental health or substance use disorder, or co-occurring mental health substance use disorder. And both must have experience navigating substance use or behavioral health care services. So that's the definition. And I want to give you that definition because if there's anybody out there that has the lived experience, the education, the passion of wanting to support families, this is a profession and this is something that you can do. How do you do it? So to become certified, you have to do 72 hours. You have to take a 72 hours DBHDS mandated peer recovery training. And the trainings are all over the state. They're everywhere. You can Google it and so many will come up. And then you have to sit for the Virginia Certification Board Certified Peer Recovery Specialist examination. So this is a certification that you have to maintain, that you have to do CEUs for. You have to have 500 hours of documented experience, paid or volunteer, as a peer recovery specialist, and then you recert every 2 years. And then there's also a third level that you can do, which is registering with the Virginia Board of Counseling. And that's if you want to build. And then there's different endorsements. So for me, I was a family support partner, and I worked with families that parented children with mental health and substance use disorders. But you also, now we have something called co-ops, which is a certified older adult peer. So that's working with our older community that have substance use or mental health challenges, and we're trained to better support them in that stage of their life. And we also have a new endorsement of problem gambling peer support specialists, certified in working with people who have problems with gambling. And then we have a new, this is probably our newest, is the certified integrated forensic peer recovery specialist. These peers support those in our criminal justice system and help recidivism. They they peer them from a lived experience position and keep them out of trouble. That is the hope. So the peer workforce is a growing profession, and it's a crucial part in mental health and recovery support system. But our profession is often misunderstood. And this a lot of times is where advocacy comes in. There's lack of awareness and education. Our model is still relatively new in many systems, and traditionally providers may not have the training or the understanding to work alongside peers. There's stigma around lived experience. They may see peers as less professional because they've had personal struggles, even though the lived experience is precisely what makes their support effective and relatable. Unclear role definitions. In some systems, peers end up doing tasks outside their scope. This creates blurred lines between peer and clinical roles, and it risks professional burnout and ethical issues. And most importantly, it jeopardizes the integrity of the peer model. And then there's inadequate integration and support. Peer workers are sometimes hired without proper training, supervision, or inclusion in a team decision making. And this sets them up to fail and reinforces the false perception that they are not essential or effective members of a team. And then compensation. Reimbursement for peer work and grant funding has grown tremendously. I will say that it is now a better paying job, or a better paying passion, as I like to call it. But at some times, because there's lack of understanding, there's the underpaid and placed in low status roles. The economic undervalue sends a message that their contributions can be less important than clinical staff, furthering the misunderstanding and disrespect. After I got the job with UMFS as a part-time family support partner, I said, this is what I want to do forever. And I wanted to go full time. I wanted to leave my job at CHKD, and I wanted to just dive in and do this as long as I could. I kept asking my supervisor, full time, full time, full time. And she said, no, we don't. And this is down in the 757. No, our grant doesn't cover a full time position, but Richmond does. And going through a divorce and uprooting my children from a lifestyle that they were in, and just everything that was going on with Jordan. When she told me about the full-time position as a lead regional peer in Richmond, I said, well, I think that is what I'm supposed to do. I am supposed to go there and do this forever. And I did. I packed up. I went down and I interviewed, and I got the job, and I packed up everything in a U-Haul, and I moved to Richmond to do this work. Unfortunately, during COVID, and I did the work. It was great. I was happy. I had an extra level of my job responsibility, and that was talking to community partners about peer work, getting funding for peer work, telling my story all around Virginia. But like I was saying, unfortunately, during COVID, our program lost its funding and it closed. And I was devastated. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to still give back in this profession. I was lucky enough that I did find a remote position with Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield on their suicide prevention team. What a good fit for me, for a mom who had been, who has parented a child that had a suicide attempt. And it was a different position for me because everything was virtual. It was remote. It was on the phone. And so, when we would get a call, if it got disconnected or if they never called back, that was it. I didn't know what happened. I didn't know, what resources or any follow-up really couldn't happen. This program with Anthem was a very new program, and they've never had peers work with this program before in this area of suicide prevention. So there were a lot of things that weren't done, I would say, correctly, or maybe to our ethical issues. And working remotely, it was hard to advocate for myself and for my profession and say, yeah, this is not quite how we do things as peers, or can we do more in this area as peers? It was hard. If we were in person, I would absolutely position myself at the water fountain or at the coffee machine, or walk into, excuse me, at a meeting or something, or call a meeting with somebody that was in charge to just educate and try to bring awareness to the peer profession and the importance of having somebody who has had the experience work with somebody going through the experience. It makes such a difference. And sometimes people just don't understand that. And it was hard to get my voice in there. Um, I had a great lead who was a clinical social worker that would take my ideas and my suggestions to the table, but I wanted to be at the table. Um, because here's what happens sometimes when we're trying to expand the peer workforce. It's important to understand the peer role, use it efficiently and effectively, and we want to create supportive work environments and have ongoing professional development, promote education and awareness, celebrate lived experience. Don't let it be something that holds us back because we've been through something. Let it be something that provides hope to someone else because they're going through something. And we are the living proof that recovery happens, change happens, and it can be okay. And support self-care and resiliency. That's what recovery is all about. Whether it's mental health or substance use, it's about being resilient and understanding that you can get through some hard times. And having someone there that's been through something to walk alongside with you can make all the difference. So, with me having those challenges, I began to look for another job. I needed something to do where I was making a real difference. I'm telling you, when you've been through the challenges that I have been through in my life with my daughter and my own personal life, um, you want it to be better. You want to help people who are going through something. It's just something that I can't even control. So I was lucky to find that Chesterfield was hiring for a lead peer, doing exactly all the things that I wanted to do when it came to peer work and my passion and profession. And so my role with Chesterfield, and it's an important role as lead peer, because if there are some peers out there that are in a position and work for a community or a company, I do feel like it is important to have someone in the position of bringing the peers that in the community together. And so I do peer workforce development. I bring uniformity, support, and deep understanding of the peer role through consultation with direct program supervisors and executive leadership. I mean, I go straight to the top. I sit with the director of the CSB and I report directly to the assistant director because that's where it starts. And Chesterfield is so innovative. I very rarely get told no. I might get told, we're going to table this for right now, Stephanie. That's a great idea, but we might be away from that, a whiles away, but it's never a no. And then I also provide education, resources, and training, which is a crucial part of understanding and improving the effectiveness of peer work. And then I connect all the peers with our community partners, the peers within the CSB, and I integrate peer voice throughout the agency. And I do that by I sit on various committees and task force. I talk about what the peers are doing throughout Chesterfield, and I bring an element of I'm a mom who has been through some hard stuff with her daughter, and I got through it. And so, you can do it too, and peers can help you get there. Put them on your team, and they can help you get there. And then I talked about the community partners. Let's see. So I'll just briefly go through really quick of where our peers are. We have 4 peers in our recovery outreach team. This is our boots on the ground team. They go into the encampments. They go on Route 1. They go onto the corners. And it's not in a way of having a van or a school bus and say, hey, jump on this van, let's all go to recovery. No, it's not that. It's definitely meeting people where they are, saying, hey, when you're ready, I'm here. And so they're in the communities. So we have 4 wonderful peers. And I'm sorry that you can't see my thing, because I have some blurbs of why these peers became peers, but I can email it to you, Gully, and maybe you can send it out for those who are interested. And then we have 1 peer in recovery court. And recovery court is a specialized court designed to support individuals who are involved in the criminal justice system due to substance use or mental health issues. And I don't know if you remember, back in the day, it used to be called drug court. Well, now we're trying to be more recovery oriented. It's now called recovery court. It's not something that we want to penalize. We want to help. We want to support. We want to get you into recovery. And then we have 1 peer on our case management and same day access. So if you're in a mental health struggle, or if you're in a substance use struggle, and you want to, that day you wake up and you decide, I want to get clean. That day you wake up and you say, I need help with my mental health. You can walk into Chesterfield CSB and ask to be see a same day access intake person. And sometimes, wait lists and therapists are full and you have to wait. And I came up with this idea. I said, well, if they have to wait too long, we're going to lose them. We have to act now. When it comes to recovery, you have to act right now. Can we put a peer in same day access as part-time to reach out, meet for coffee, offer an online virtual support group? And they said, yes, Stephanie, that's a great idea. We're doing it. So we have a peer now that if we have a wait list, or if the intake specialist says, this person needs someone now, she will reach out and offer that support immediately in that moment. And then we have a new program that's our harm reduction program. We have a peer now that's also our boots on the ground program, where we're going out, we're handing out, Narcan and preventative tools and everything, condoms, toiletry items, everything. Then we have a peer in our permanent supportive housing. That's our program where we are taking people who are homeless and putting them into apartments and putting them into safe housing. And that takes some navigating. And so we have a peer that's right there helping them along the way. And then a peer with our Chester House, which is our psychosocial rehabilitation program that's designed to assist individuals diagnosed with serious mental illness. And that's a clubhouse model. They come every day. They have group. They go on outings and trips, and they're within their own community. And we have a peer right there. And then we have 2 peers that are with our ACT team. And that's also a program with our serious mental health issues. I don't like to say issues. I like to say challenges. It's designed to meet the needs of individuals who have frequent hospitalizations and are at risk of being institutionalized. This program keeps them in the community, and it's 2 peers lead that program. And then we have 2 peers with our Chesterfield Recovery Academy. I don't know if a lot of people know that Chesterfield does have a recovery academy. I believe it's 8th through 12th. And if there are high school students that are struggling with mental health challenges or substance use, and they are not doing well in their home school, they can go to Chesterfield Recovery Academy, which is a therapeutic environment, still finish school, but still get what they need throughout the day to be successful. And we also have a peer on our fire and EMS program with multi-integrated health. We have a peer that rides around with our Chesterfield Police Department to help in those situations that might need de-escalation and not force. And then we have 3 peers in the county jail that when they are 30 days out from being released, set them up with resources, try to get them into recovery housing if that's something that they need or want to do. And then we have a new program with our community corrections, which is our probation program. And these are all the peers that are in each one of these programs have lived experience in that area. So how amazing is it for somebody who is in that moment, in that crisis, advocate for them, and they can see right in front of them that recovery can happen, that you can be here, right here where I'm standing, if you just do the work, do everything that you're supposed to do, and I'm going to be right here with you along the way. How amazing is that? So why is advocacy so important? It's important on many levels, but I'm just going to touch base on two. And one is more so on the community side. I want to read a quote by Martin Luther King. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. Advocacy is important because it gives a voice to those who may not be heard. It helps bring about change. It promotes fairness and justice. It amplifies voices, raises awareness, and builds community power, protects rights, and encourages accountability, holds people, institutions, governments, leaders accountable for their actions and decisions. And that's kind of what I was doing when I took on this institution of the residential center. Was I saw something that was wrong. Well, I won't say wrong. It just wasn't implemented. And like I said, they weren't doing anything wrong, but they probably just didn't think about doing it this way. And so I advocated for myself and for other families to change that. And they did. And so, advocacy can work. How can it work on a level for yourself? Another quote, Angela Davis. I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I am changing the things I cannot accept. Advocating for yourself is incredibly important because it empowers you to take control of your life, make informed decisions, and protect your rights and well-being. It can promote independence and empowerment. It can help take ownership of your life. It allows you to speak up for your needs, set boundaries, and make choices that align with your values and with your goals. Build confidence and self-worth. When you stand up for yourself, you reinforce that you believe that your voice matters. And over time, that builds inner strength, self-esteem, and personal resilience. Remember when I told you in the beginning of all of this, I was going through a divorce. And my self-esteem went way down. It wasn't a good marriage. I was not happy. It was abusive. And so I didn't feel worthy of anything. But then when it came to my child and what she was going through and going through those emails and talking with leadership at the residential center, it absolutely built something positive in me, something inner strength came that I didn't know I even had. And I turned it into a whole career and profession. Improves communications and communication skills. Self-advocating involves clearly expressing your thoughts, feelings, and needs. These skills translate into better communication in relationships, work, healthcare, and daily life. And it ensures that your needs are met. Teaches others how to treat you. I know working with families, especially families that were involved with Child Protective Services, a lot of times we would get families and they would just be over it. Too many people telling them too many things to do. No real one direct plan. And they're just like, it's whatever, Stephanie, it's whatever they tell me to do. No, speak up for yourself. Set your boundaries. Yeah, you have mandates, but you can be a part of your plan. And when a family or somebody that you're working with is a part of the plan and they have some input and they have a voice, they are more likely going to succeed in getting to the end of whatever it is that they were tasked with doing. And that's when you celebrate and you say, you did it. And you did it. And a part of the reason why you did it is because your voice was heard. Advocacy, it prepares you to advocate for others, which is what happened to me. Um, Practicing self advocacy, you're better equipped to support and empower others, especially those who can't always speak up for themselves. Jordan wasn't, she didn't, she was 14, she didn't know to say, well, was my mom coming? And did you call my mom? I mean, I'm sure she did, but she's 14. And so that was something that I had to take control of. I need to know when she's having the meetings. Um, I need to be a part of her discharge plan. She's coming home to me. Like, how are we going to work together to make sure that Jordan is as successful as she can be when she's having to go through these challenges? Another quote. Amazing how we can light tomorrow with today. That's Elizabeth Browning. Self-advocacy is a life skill. It helps navigate challenges, learn from experiences, and continue growing personally and professionally. It's something that we should practice every day. Speak up, advocate for yourself, advocate for somebody else. Um, it Oops. It will do something internally for you, and you never know. You may turn it into a profession like I did. Now you can't see the picture on the slide, but I had a picture of Jordan and her boyfriend that she's been with since high school, and her son. Jordan is now, well, she'll be 25 this month, and Jordan has done amazing. And in peer work, we always talk about, wanting a full circle moment with the people that we serve. And so I want to share with you my full circle moment with Jordan. So Jordan has a son now. He's 20 months old. I love being a yaya. I have 2 grandchildren. But I went to Jordan's first prenatal appointment. And after the appointment, she had to stay in the back for blood work. And I went and I sat in the lobby. And I was sitting in the lobby, and I was uncomfortable. All of a sudden, I don't know. My hands started sweating. I'm looking around. I'm like, what is going on? I am having a trauma response to something, but I can't really figure out what it is. And I'm looking around, and I look out the window, and I just immediately begin to cry. I began to cry, and it's one of those cries of wow, I can't believe we're here. And at that same time, Jordan comes from the back, and she says, "Mom, what's wrong? They said the baby's fine. Like, why are you crying? What's wrong?" And I was so choked up, I couldn't even say anything to her. I just grabbed her by her arm, her wrist, and I took her outside, and I faced her towards a building. And I said, "Joe, do you remember that place?" And she looked, and she put her head down, and she said, "Yeah." And I picked her up by her chin. I did her just like that. And I said, "No, Joe, don't put your head down." I said, "That was the place I took you to the night you wanted to end your life." And then I faced her towards the doctor's office, and I said, "And today I bring you here to prepare you to give life." And I just hugged her, and I told her how proud I was of her, how every day she shows up. Even when she's struggling mentally, she shows up. I told her how she's going to be a great mom, and she is. She's an amazing mom. And that was our full circle moment. Um, and that's kind of what it is when you talk about peer work and advocacy is you want to show somebody where they've been, remind them where they've been, and then put them in the mirror and say, "Look at you now. Look what you've done. And I was right here, and I did it with you." And so I just want to leave you with that. And I also want to leave you with the question of what can you do in your own life, with your family, in your workplace? What can you do? How does advocacy show up for you, and how can you show up for it? Just always remember that. And so I just want to thank everybody. Thank you so much for having me here today. If you want a copy of the PowerPoint, and so you can go back and follow along, just let Gully know, and I will be very happy to send that to you. Um, and if you are interested in getting into the peer profession, please reach out to me. I'm giving permission to give out my contact information, my email. I can help you steer you in the right direction. So, again, just thank you so much for having me.
Wow. You did it again. You made us laugh, made me kick up my heels almost, and you made me cry. But I really like the full circle. That's a moment it's got to be
Yeah,
frozen in time.
yeah, yeah.
My
You
eyes a
see,
little my eyes a little misty right now. That's a bug in
I
my
get
eye.
I get choked up every time I say it because it is the essence of, advocating peer work. It really is having that full circle moment. And like I said, Jordan was 14, she's now 25. And that was our full circle moment. Sometimes it takes that long, sometimes it doesn't. But that was it right there.
Yeah, whew, I'm trying to say, and I know times are different, and I'm not gonna try to go back in time and say, man, all of that. But I can say this lightly. I wish I had that information or that support. The society wasn't ready for that
No,
at that
I had,
time.
yeah.
It's of course I'm just a few days older than you, but you're the age of our children. But it's so important, and that peer support can come within your own family. My wife, our
Yes,
children were there
absolutely.
for me because it was some dark times. And I thank God, and that's why I'm so adamant about sharing my story. When I share my
Mhm.
story, I share the family's story because they suffered. I'm the direct one, but collateral damage will hit anyone. And that's
Yeah,
why I'm so adamant about this mental health. Of course, people know, and I do this disclaimer, we're not mental health professional, but we are children of God and ministers. And so we share our story, and we get responses from people telling us, thank you for sharing that story. And so if you look at it, we come from, let's say, from the ministry background, you come from social services.
yeah. Hmm.
I don't, generally speaking, care what it comes from as long as the people can get the help they need.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we're not fighting you, you're not fighting us. Everybody has a part in it. The police force, the clinical support, all the other medicals, the ministries, the individuals. It's all about that. So people can be able to live a more productive life. And then you said about your daughter ADHD. Hope I said that right.
yeah. Hmm.
And why I'm so adamant, I wasn't diagnosed that. Again, times are different. Had the first nervous breakdown at 8 years old. And even in church, and again, would come from the church side, it was to pray and believe God.
Oh yeah, that's how I grew up. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But there
Pray
are,
God to take it away.
yeah,
Just pray to take it away.
but there are practical things we need to do. I'm
Got a
trying
whole
to,
church praying for you. So
yeah, I'm raising my voice because I get so caught up in it. There are practical things we do. I think we lost her. She'll come back on. Hold on. I got to let her back in when she comes. And we thank God for her presentation and hope, like I said, hopefully she'll come back on. But again, I will continue. I'm so glad the times are different where the help is there. That's why I share my story. Pastor Jay, would you like to have anything to say concerning the journeys? And hopefully Stephanie will be back on.
No, I just wanted to say that, this was good. The thing that I guess stood out to me in this was that the people that have gone through this can be better advocates. Stephanie went through this. She experienced this, and it was real to her. And the thing about it is, she knew what she was looking for, what she needed. And so, you know, I was just sitting there watching her, and I said, she's a mover and a shaker because, she started to make things happen. And when you're in a situation of life and you're not getting what you need, it will put you in that position to start saying, this is really critical to me and crucial to me that I have this, or that there's someone here to feel this for me. And so she actually started stepping into what she knew that she felt, and she didn't want other people to go through that. So she started filling those holes and those gaps in that process. And so it was really good. And I thank God that, she was able to, glad that Jordan was able to get through it, and that she's come through life and has brought life into the world.
Amazing.
And that in itself, as she looks at her child, I'm quite sure it brings her to a place to think about, your mom almost wasn't here. And so, it's just a special, that's a very special thing. And so I hope that our listeners tonight, even in the process of going through, the divorce, and how that was a tough time, and, how these things also play a part in our children's lives. And sometimes we think that, that they are resilient, but they are people, and they feel things too. And sometimes, the kids are pushed aside to maybe say, well, they'll get through it and they don't need any help in this area, but they do. And so they need too somebody to advocate for them through even the process of divorce and family, breakups and family divides and all of this, because these things can be things that trigger the mental health, the negative side of mental health in children and parents and in all of us. But this was really good, and I'm sorry that you had to endure that, but I'm thankful that God put you in a place to be an advocate for the needs of others.
And
because I just listened.
I had a praying mother, my praying mother. I had a praying mother. And father.
And that's very important because we can't dismiss the prayer part, but at the same token, we can't dismiss the natural side of things that are going on. I think cohesively they come together and they work together. And so this was very good tonight, and I really thank you. I wish more people could be here, but what I've learned, who God has here is who needs to be here. So I thank that. Thank you for sharing this information for us. And I pray that you will continue to tell your story. I listen a lot of times to my husband, and I don't have to tell him to tell his story, because he will definitely tell his story. And but I thank God for it, because the experiences of life, there's something that trigger us, and we never know who we're going to help by telling our story. So thank you so much for being with us tonight. I appreciate you.
I love to tell my story. It's a hard story to tell, but it's also a story of advocacy and resiliency. And I mean, it's a lot more to the story, but I wanted to touch base on something you said about children being resilient. But the divorce really was something that kind of triggered Jordan, and it was not an easy thing for her to go through. And I missed a lot of the signs. She was wearing dark clothes in the summer, and I was like, well, she's just a teenager. But then when she got into treatment, found out that she was a cutter. Like, that's how she was handling the hurt, is by hurting herself. And so, I had to deal with that guilt of kind of checking out and not seeing the signs that were right there in my face, but I was also going through something. And so when Jordan getting into treatment made me get into therapy, and then was better to support my older daughter. And so it was just I guess a full circle moment for all of us, because we had to look to
Yes.
get to the help that we needed as a family.
There's a
Hmm.
question.
Okay, so
Mhm.
yes, go ahead.
There's a question out there.
I was going to say too, you have a
Oh,
question. Hmm.
okay. How
Oh,
readily how
go ahead.
readily available are beds for
Mm,
those in crisis? I remember years ago, a Virginia government official was shot by his son who couldn't get in a mental health facility. So, how readily available are beds for those in crisis?
you know, um, talking about the grace of God, because that me getting Jordan into a facility right then and there within that hour would have never happened in a million years. It's very hard. It's very, very hard. Now we're talking, I can't do the math, but she was 14 then, way back, way back. Um, Now a lot more residential centers have opened. We have most mobile crisis units. So there are other options than to going to the ER, because that was one of the options. She said, go to the ER. I said, I can't. I work there. I'm not going there. Um, and so now I will say it's a little bit better. It's faster. Social workers, therapists, there's listservs out there that go out every day of treatment facilities that have open beds, and how many beds are open that you can check every day. Um, I think because of situations like that, we've had to put some things in place. It's better, but is it easy and all the way effective, and everybody can get into a treatment facility? Not yet. Um, but it is better. It definitely is better. I still to this day, well, I know how who got me where I needed to be, but it was completely a miracle that she put me on hold and she came back and said, "Go now," because I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't know, but it's better. It is definitely better.
Or better than it used to be, when
Better
you
than
first started.
we still have work to do, and that's why all
Yeah.
those advocates got to get out there and talk about it, and share stories, and get in the mix of things, so that we can create change, so that it can just keep getting better. We don't want to go backwards.
And the thing that
Amen.
people got to realize, and many do, I'm sure, what happens to directly to one individual, as like I said, is the collateral damage. If a blessing
Yeah,
comes to one individual, then others are blessed. If a mishaps come to an individual, then the others, especially in a close circle of family, they are
sure.
adversely affected. And I know in my story how my family were adversely affected. I'm just so glad that the help was there. Here's a question. I was
Mhm.
contemplating divorce when I went through my trauma. Thank God for my children and their strength.
Yeah,
They still remain my support
yeah.
system.
That's
Hallelujah. Thank you,
beautiful.
Mother. Thank you. And
Yeah.
thank you, my sister Slayton. Thank you so much for those comments, question and comment. Yes. It takes a village to
It
raise a
does.
child. It takes two villages to help people overall, maybe three villages. And I just thank God that things are far different now. Is it gonna, like you said, is it gonna be perfect? No. But we can look back and see it's better. And I can look back and see from the church aspect, churches now are talking about mental health.
Yes.
And I
Yes,
was
and
so
then,
happy. You
so
got something to
me
say about that?
me
Yeah.
too. No, I was just, because like I said, I had a praying mother, a praying grandmother, a praying father. They pray, but I needed resources. So it's like the two, you know, me doing the things on this end, and then calling my mom and saying, "Mommy, please pray with me. I need your strength right now." The putting it together, just it really helped us all get through. And you are so right. It is collateral damage, and that's why I just couldn't understand why the residential treatment center did not have something in place for families, no support group, no resources. Like, it was just mind boggling, because here's the thing, she's going to have to come home to me. And so if I don't want her to go back, arm me, tell me what I'm supposed to do to help my child in real life. In real life, I don't want her to go back. You shouldn't want her back. So help me help myself. Help me help my daughter. And nothing was really in place for that. I mean, it is now,
Yeah.
but back then, no, it was individualized treatment. They, and Jordan absolutely got the help that she needed, but you know, it, I needed support. My other daughter needed
That
support.
that's right, because
Mhm.
Jordan was broken, coming back home to a broken mother,
Yes.
a
Who's
broken
going through a
sister,
divorce,
a broken
who
house.
is traumatized.
What is that? That's a volcano waiting to erupt.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it could have caused her
Okay?
to have
Yeah.
and it could have caused her to have a relapse, if even if she was in a good space, coming back into someone that didn't
Exactly.
know how to deal with her.
Yes.
She could have
Yep.
had a relapse and had to,
Yeah.
go back into a worse state than what she was. But
Yep.
thank
Here's
Exactly.
a,
And
God.
I just,
here's a
And
question. Are law
sure.
enforcement officers getting
Mhm.
proper training in handling someone in a mental crisis? Let me answer that one. Then you can go.
Go
Yes,
ahead.
yes, yes.
Yes,
And I know
ma'am.
this firsthand. And plus, I still got to go try, because I was supposed to take a ride with Chesterfield
Oh, okay.
when they're on, and I got to go back, and something happened. But I did do it some years ago. I had did a ride along. But what they do now, when it's called that there's a mental health, like a crime, but
Mhm.
mental health or a person challenge, they have I forgot the name of it. They have social workers dealing with mental health to also arrive,
Yep.
and they're being trained, but they have someone there that can be on the scene. And we got that from Brightpoint, I think last year. And a police officer and a lady who could ride along help de-escalate, and they're getting proper training, not in Chesterfield, but this is really across the
This
nation
is
now.
happening.
Stephanie, you can
Yeah,
better.
I was gonna say in Chesterfield we have, and I, excuse me, I just got an email today because the Chesterfield Police Department, they want another peer to do ride-alongs. So we have two now, and not only when they go out, they also kind of flag that person, so they're in the system already as someone that has mental health challenges. So if they get a call or something happens, they know to send a social worker, also send a peer. They're not going in, they're going in more of a patience and understanding and, excuse me, type situation, because it's in the system that this person has a mental health challenge.
also, that would be put in the system when a person goes into a facility. They're tagged at that point. Oh, okay.
Yes. And they
Hmm.
do checkups. So there's a list. And this even is on the substance use side. If there's somebody that they know that gets called out and they have to have the Narcan and all these things over and over again, they'll call. They'll check up and say, "Hey, how you doing? Are you ready to, you want to get in recovery? I have some resources for you." Same thing with on the mental health side. So I guess it's also preventative as well, you know. And
Hmm.
then say it's somebody that they don't know, well, now they will know because that person is in their system.
Well,
Right.
Stephanie, we got the right person tonight. Wow, because I'll get with you, because, like I said, I was trying to do that ride along with when they're flagged for mental health, just to stay in the
Mhm.
vehicle and just ride along and see. But like I said, a few years back, I did an actual ride along with a police officer, and that was, let's say, it was quite interesting. But I really
Yeah.
want to go through this one, so we'll talk. But if there are any more questions or
And,
comments,
and go ahead, make
this,
sure they give you the vest, because now the peers actually have the vest like the police officers do, and it
yes,
says
yes,
peers on it. So make
yes.
sure you get the peer and take a picture.
Well, as long as I got my cowboy hat on, I'll be all
Yes,
right.
yes.
But
Yes, I want to get the word out.
but I thank God for the work you're doing. I can say in conclusion, God has blessed you to make some sweet lemonade out of those lemons. And that's what we need
Sure.
to do. The lemons, the lime, the bitterness. If we do as on this side, do as God will have us to do, and community do, individuals do, you can take those bitter situations that it feel like you cannot overcome. And look at what God has blessed you to do. Started programs, implementing something, your voice is being heard. Of course, you wouldn't have written your story that way
No.
to get to here. I mean, you would have found an easy way, like all of us. But God knows what He's doing,
Yeah.
and
I've
I am
learned so
so glad.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're a beautiful daughter. I saw the picture at the
Yeah.
conference, and the grandbaby and her friend, and your daughter, I guess, and her baby and family.
Yeah. My oldest daughter's getting ready to get married, and everybody's good. Yeah. Yeah.
Whew. But as you look,
Not without not without challenge though. Sometimes we tell our stories and it's just like, oh, it's all no, not without challenge. We work at it every day.
don't let us begin to tell our story even recent years that we wouldn't have time. But Stephanie, audience, thank you so much. And those
Thank
who
you.
are viewing
Yes.
now and will view it later, put your
Okay.
comments even days and weeks and months later, but hopefully just a few days. Put your comments in, and like I tell our people, if you would like to present on the first Thursdays of the month, something about leadership. You don't have to be quote unquote a professional. It starts with the individual as a leader,
Right.
your family, and so on. And mental health challenges. Everything's not because a person, what we call going crazy. No, mental health can adversely affect our finances, our social lives, our spiritual, our family, your eating, your resting, your sleeping. Mental health can positively or adversely affect every area of our lives. So the first Thursday of the month, leadership, third Thursday of the month, mental health. If you know someone or you are professional, non-professional, coming from the church, or just an individual who want to share their story, you may have someone in your circle who have gone through mental health. Of course, we're not going to name names, but if you want to come on and share your story, how it affected you as a family member or as a friend, please do so. Again, Stephanie, thank you. Pastor Jay, you got anything to say? Any
No,
last comment?
I'll just say thank you to our Llewellyn and Mother Fulcrum and Danielle and Mother Tyson for those who joined us tonight, whose names I see, those who made a comment. I want to thank all of them for joining us, and I hope that this session tonight has been beneficial to you. And of course, I definitely want to thank Stephanie for the information she has provided to us, has enlightened my knowledge on some things, and I just thank God. Knowledge is good because now I can talk about some things like I know something, right? But thank you so much for sharing on tonight, and we really appreciate you and thank you for the connection.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, Stephanie.
Yes.
And
Yes.
last, when you get to know Pastor Jay, you can't get rid of her.
I'm always willing to serve.
Hey, pray for me tonight. I'm going to get it tonight.
Yeah.
But thank you all.
You're very
Thank you
welcome.
all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
And remember, enjoy every moment of every day to the fullest intentionally. See you tomorrow morning on Breakfast with Us. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
God bless you. Good
Good
night.
night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.